Surviving the unsurvivable. It is not that simple, though. You would think that after almost losing his entire business in 2020 and seeing a fan airlifted with life-altering injuries, Garrett Mitchell would hit the brakes. Any rational person would probably step back, stick to safe, controlled content, and protect what they had left. But the opposite happened. It was like the stress of the near collapse triggered something inside him, chasing a high that only extreme danger could provide. The algorithm demands escalation, and Mitchell answered the call by pushing the envelope until it tore. He turned his eyes to the sky. If the racetrack was dangerous, the air was unforgiving. He purchased a private aviation facility, branding it the Bald Eagle Airfield. It was meant to be another playground for content, a place where freedom had no speed limit. But aviation is not like driving a car. You cannot just pull over to the side of the road if something breaks. And get this. The dream of flight quickly turned into a regulatory and physical nightmare. In April 2025, the reality of gravity hit home. A light plane crash occurred right there at his airfield during a standard touch-and-go maneuver. While the pilot was fortunate enough to walk away with just a limp, the incident drew the attention of the federal government. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, does not joke around. They launched a series of audits that effectively grounded his operations. We are talking about over $100,000 in compliance fees, lawyers, and inspections. The airfield, which was supposed to be a symbol of ultimate freedom, became a financial anchor dragging him down. But the scariest moment did not happen to an employee. It happened to Mitchell himself. Back in 2024, he was flying solo when his engine failed mid-flight. Imagine that silence. The roar of the propeller stops, and suddenly you are just a heavy piece of metal falling out of the sky. He had to execute an emergency landing, a moment where life and death are separated by mere seconds and pilot skill. He managed to put the plane down safely, and in the video released afterward, he preached caution. He looked shaken, but his actions in the following months told a completely different story. It was as if surviving the scare only validated his feeling of invincibility. Basically, he decided that if the air was trying to ground him, he would go faster on the asphalt. He wanted to be a professional race car driver. In February 2025, Mitchell entered the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona. This is not a YouTube skit with friends and beaten-up Hondas. This is the big leagues, the stepping stone to NASCAR. We are talking about heavy, 3,400-pound stock cars drafting inches apart at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour. The margin for error is zero. During the race, chaos broke out. It wasn't even his fault, but in racing, physics doesn't care about blame. Mitchell's number 30 Ford got clipped in the rear quarter panel. At that speed, the car didn't just spin, it became a projectile. The air got under the chassis and the vehicle went airborne. For a terrifying second, Garrett Mitchell was a passenger in his own machine, flying through the air completely out of control. The car slammed nose first into the concrete retaining wall at 180 miles per hour. The impact was violent. It was the kind of crash that makes the entire stadium go silent. The front end of the car disintegrated, absorbing the massive G-forces. For a few agonizing seconds, the cameras were just focused on the smoking wreckage, waiting to see if the window net would drop, the universal sign that the driver is alive. He walked away, thanks to modern safety gear that is designed to save lives in exactly these scenarios. But mentally, that crash rattled him to his core. He later joked that the few seconds he was airborne felt longer than his first marriage. It was a classic Cleetus line, using humor to deflect the trauma. But the fear behind the joke was real. In a moment of rare vulnerability, he admitted the crash unraveled him. It was a stark, brutal reminder of his own mortality that no amount of views could fix, and that is putting it lightly. The critics were loud, and they were angry. On the grassroots motorsports forums and professional racing boards, the mood turned against him. Veteran racers were warning that Mitchell's law dropout bravado was going to get someone seriously hurt. They argued that he was too aggressive, too inexperienced for that level of racing, and that he was treating professional motorsport like a YouTube content farm. Then, in May 2025 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it happened again. During another ARCA race, chaos unfolded, and Mitchell was involved in another multi-car wreck. This time, he actually hit the pace car, a massive embarrassment in the racing world and a sign of absolute chaos. His best finish was tainted by the fact that he seemed to be a magnet for destruction. It seemed like every time he tried to step up, disaster was waiting around the corner. Remember the ProMod dragster he built? That project ended when the engine exploded at the Freedom Factory, sending parts flying and causing $25,000 in damage in a split second. Or the 1991 Big Block Camaro? He flipped that car onto its roof mid-burnout in 2021. The crazy part is, he keeps getting back in the seat. He keeps flying. He keeps driving. It raises a serious, uncomfortable question that nobody in his inner circle seems to be asking. Is he addicted to the risk? Is the adrenaline the only thing that makes him feel normal after the stress of the lawsuits? Or is he just trapped in a vicious cycle where he has to keep risking his life to keep the millions of views coming in? The audience gets bored with safety. The algorithm rewards the spectacle. And Mitchell knows that. What do you think? Is Cleetus pushing it too far, or is this just the cost of the American dream? Hit the like button if you enjoyed this story and subscribe for more deep dives into the dark side of fame.